Welcome to Coaching the Brave podcast with Giovanna Chase. I am so thankful to have you back on the show. Thank you for your loyalty. And for once a month to twice a month, I will be posting at random these beautiful interviews where people have figured out how to make a situation feel unstuckable. Yes, I just made a word. So, in our military spouse communities, it is so easy to feel like we are trapped. We have to wait until our service member's career is finished in order to start our own. Well, that is not true. I am here to break that status quo and to help those who feel stuck to feel unstuck and to feel empowered and motivated to go out and start your own journeys. Start your career. Start it now. That way, when your service member is retired and out, you have a plan. You're established in your plan and you're happy. You're enjoying your life together. And ultimately, positively, this just helps to uplift those who just want to feel good in the day and hear other military spouses or service members or people who support the military hear their story and feel a sense of positivity in a world where negativity is the first thing you see in the morning. So sit back, relax, and if you find this interesting and you have a story to tell, feel free to go down into my description and ask to be on the podcast. It's that simple. And fill out the application there. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, follow, and leave a message. Leave a review on iTunes and on Spotify.
Hello, Coaching the Brave community. Thank you so much for joining me again for another week. And I am going to introduce to you today Raven Petty. She is a book coach and co-owner of Raven and Grace Press, a hybrid book publishing company. She has made it specific that she does not have a military background, but has the utmost respect to those who have served. And she has a bachelor's degree in English, has 20 years plus years of publishing and content marketing, and became a certified coach in 2021. By using her content, project management experience, and coaching skills, she helps authors create books they are proud of and sell worldwide. I'm very thankful that she has decided to work with me. It's been a long time coming. We tried to do this a while ago and life just got in the way, and that's okay because we're here today. And I'm excited for all of you to hear what she has to say, because I know that all of you have, well, not all of you, but a lot of you have a vision and you have a story to tell, and you're wondering, how can I write a book? How can I put this out there into the world? And I know some of you have already written books and maybe are looking for some way to get it out there. So let's do it together. Listen to what Miss Raven has to say, and maybe she resonates with you, or maybe she doesn't, or maybe you know someone that she can work with. So I'm excited to hear her story and how she began. Are you? Well, get excited. Thanks for listening. Here we go. Hello, Patty. How are you?
Well, how are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. I'm so excited to have you on today because it's been a long time since we actually connected and then we got onto the call. So
It has. Thank you for having me.
yeah, not a problem. I know that there is a vast majority of people that I have come in contact with that have the idea of writing a book or have already a book. And it's just nice to know that there is somebody out there who's also a coach that will sit with them and walk with them and guide them through it. So I'm really excited to hear how your process works and how you even got to doing what you do today. Sounds good to you?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear it. So,
Yeah.
if you are ready, please tell us, like, how did your passion light up?
Uh, Well, it started so many years ago. I was a young person editing a paper and realized that I wanted to go to college to be a proofreader. And eventually that happened. I was a very young mom and got married young, but eventually made it to college and graduated with a degree in English and a background in linguistics for grammar and could not get a job as a book editor. So I ended up getting a job at a magazine publishing company and then a vacation rental management company in content marketing, and decided that I needed a career pivot when COVID hit. I was able to actually keep my job. Vacation rentals did very well during that time, but I was not fulfilled. So I went back to school to become a coach. And then through that program, I actually met my current business partner, Jennifer Grace. And in 2024, we started the publishing company, Raven and Grace Press. And I transitioned from life coaching to book coaching in order to better serve writers.
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful journey and really tough too. It sounds like there were some struggles there, young mom, young a woman as a professional, married and going through all of these different types of avenues of career and really not finding that passion. That's a big one. When you find your
Absolutely.
passion and you want to hone into that.
I'm very grateful for everything I learned in corporate because the some of the skills that I used in magazine publishing and even content marketing I use today in my own businesses. So it did kind of build upon itself as time went on. But it was a 20-year journey from wanting to be a book editor to actually being a book editor and having my own publishing company.
20 years, yes. And using all of those skills, a lot of them that you learned in corporate to now.
Never give
Exactly.
up.
You just keep going. You just keep going.
Yeah.
Baby steps,
Yes.
right? That's good to know too, because there's a lot of us, the business owners, that were just little, and like we're still making those little incremental steps to get there, and we're doing what we love, and to know that you have gotten to where you want to be, and there's so much in there. I want to get into all of that. Did you have any support along the way? And then to now, do you still find yourself like looking for that support or having that support? How does that look like?
That's such an interesting question. Yes and no. I when I was younger and wanted to go to school to be a book editor, I had the support of my friends and family for sure. But knowing I wanted to be a book editor and work in books was just something that was just there. Like it's just like knowing your superpowers and knowing your gifts. And I'm a fantastic proofreader. There's nothing I won't see. So, which is scary for a lot of writers, but
Yeah.
we're really, really embracing that. And then I over the years, we grow and we change and we transform and we evolve and we need new things and different things from different people. And so, people did fall away. I did let go of people who were not supportive of my journey or people who wanted to cause drama or conflict. People I had to explain too much about what I wanted to do. There were a lot of people who I'm not connected with anymore, and that includes family and friends over the years. But on the other hand, I've been very lucky to find new friends and new family members who support me in new ways. And most recently, I started taking karate about 18 months ago and found a lovely community in my karate community, especially other women. And we support each other, and the sisterhood is there during, martial arts classes, and it's built into, brunches and helping each other move and just the support that we need as women and as moms.
Oh,
And just kind of, just as our businesses grow and as our family demands happen, we have the support of each other. So where people fell away, other people came into the picture, and I've probably never been more supportive than I am right now.
that is so good. How did you navigate through the unsupport? It sounds like you knew back then what you wanted because you had that proofreading and you knew that that innately was something that you wanted to do.
I'm an Aquarius, so I am very independent and stubborn. And if I have my mind set on something that I want to achieve and something that I want, and I know and feel in my gut, my intuition that it's for me, I will stop at nothing. I don't care what other people say. I will blow past them. My mom and I talk about it all the time because she's very, she's doubted some of my decisions over the years, and I at some point I just stopped asking her opinion, and so I
Hmm.
just do things. And she's like, oh, how are you doing? And I may tell her what I'm up to, but I don't go to her for advice. I don't ask her opinion because we're not going to agree, and I know that. So sometimes it's just about being true to yourself and leaning on yourself for the support you need, and just seeing what happens.
I absolutely love that advice, honestly. And the fact that you did that throughout your process, a lot of us don't have that innate, capability. And that's something that business owners have as well. That like I'm not gonna, I'm gonna stay with the blinders, right? Like I know where I'm going. I'm gonna get there, and your opinions are not in my pairing. We're not aligned, and so therefore I won't ask for that. And I love what you just said there, that I won't ask for her opinion, and I'll share what I'm doing, but I just won't ask, and that's so
Yeah.
important.
Sometimes we don't need to ask for permission. Sometimes we just need to do, and only through doing is when we see the magic happen.
Mm.
The more opinions we get, the more time we think about it. I love my husband to death, but I'm not going to ask him business advice. Like, he's not a business owner. So it's just, and I do have, I believe in coaches. I do have business coaches. I do have, marketing coaches. I do have professional connections, to kind of pick up where I can't juggle everything,
Mhm.
right? But as far as permission goes, and advice and support, it's just either you're with me or you're not, and it's up to them. So I just keep my eyes on the prize and keep moving forward.
Ah, that is gold for all of you out there listening right now. Like that is a nugget right there. If you have a dream, if there's some story within you that you want to share, go for it. Just go. Just keep going.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I tell writers this all the time. Your story is not going to be for everyone,
Yeah.
right? But your story will be for someone, and you
Mhm.
will find those people. But you can't find those people until your story's done.
Mhm.
That's why the rough draft is so important, because you can't really do anything with your book idea until you have a rough draft.
Mm.
And that is really the big hardest first step, is just getting that rough draft done. And
Yes.
it doesn't have to be perfect. An editor is going to do all kinds of work to it, a publisher, a proofreader. It's going to change and evolve, but you have to take that first step of getting that rough draft done.
Mm. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your journey so far. And like, what is your favorite part of the project?
Uh, I am very lucky that I get to work with writers, from coaching them to finish their rough draft all the way to publication, and seeing it in Books a Million and Barnes and
Mhm.
Noble, and and online. So Really, my favorite thing to do is, as crazy as it sounds, is to proofread it. But I read it several times before it gets to that point. But I love to actually, like, I love sending those links to the author. Hey, your book's on Barnes and Noble. Here's the link. Or, like sending them a picture of it when it becomes a top new release on Amazon. Like, really letting them see that it's real and it's out in the world and people are responding to it is probably my favorite part.
That's amazing. I'm sure the writers also feel that sense of high, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it leads to so many other things. It leads to podcast interviews and
Mhm.
stages for public speaking and having a book really gives you credibility. And so if you pitch to a morning show and you're like, "Oh, I'm an author of a book," they're going to take you very seriously because they want to promote your book and have you on the show. It can just lead to so many different things that people don't realize that when, being a published author is a big deal and it's relatively easy to do, even to self-publish. So it's something that if you have a story and that feeling in your gut that like you need to
Mhm.
get this out, you got to start. You got to start writing.
Please listen. Listen to Patty. Absolutely. And I love that you said that too, that it's such a big deal to have a book out there published because lately, within the last 5 years, I've seen so many movies and so many people saying, "Oh, I wrote a book. It's no big deal." But it is.
Mm,
It really is.
it is.
You
It's a very big
accomplished
deal.
something. Yeah.
It's a very big deal. There's something like only 3% of people actually finish their book,
Mm,
those who start it. And when you think about that, I mean, how many unfinished books are just sitting out there? And it is a very big deal because it does take a lot of time and commitment and dedication.
mhm.
You have to, when you're writing a book, you have to say no to your laundry sometimes and
Yeah.
your kids and your even your job. Like you have to make the time to sit down and write every single week
It's,
until it's done. And that's what I help writers do as a coach. We start with an outline, we start with creating a writing space, and then we work on like a chapter a week until it's done. And one part that I do while coaching is we coach through all the stuff that comes up, right? Like all the life stuff. But I also
mhm.
read their chapter and offer them editorial feedback on how to make it better. So when the rough draft is done, they already have a starting point for the next step, which would be, the initial editing process.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, walk us through like how from beginning to end and obviously not get too into your detail because that's the reason why, we would love for people to work with you, but that sounds so good so far is, getting into the lifestyle part, but still continuing to do and progress towards the end goal.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and it's interesting because my background in life coaching really helps authors in a different way because I'm not just an editorial coach, or like an English teacher and I'm expecting your homework to be due. I understand that, you had a tough week. You couldn't write this week. Okay. Maybe a chapter is too much. What do we need to do to scale that back so you write, 3 paragraphs or whatever it is, adjusting it. I do help writers create the outline, by the second session because it gives you a guide of what you're actually going to talk about. And that kind of stuff changes too as the book evolves. But, you have an outline. We usually work together for 12 weeks.
Okay.
I have had a couple of children's book authors do it in 6
Nice.
because they're very motivated. I've had some authors finish an entire rough draft in 12 weeks, and I've had some take 24 weeks, just depending on how big the book is. But so it's very customizable. It's very personalized. And we talk about a little bit of everything. Some days authors need to just vent, and then once they vent and get their feelings out, their mind is clear enough to where they can go back and write their chapter or work on their book.
Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. That whole process, and it helps them not to get overwhelmed with their own idea. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then once the chapter is done, I'll read it for editorial, like developmental feedback. I'll let them know what's missing, what would make it better. And I really advise writers not to go back and read those notes until they're done with the entire draft,
Oh,
unless it's like a fiction book where you need to know those kind of things before you move on.
okay.
But I recommend that they don't make the editorial changes until the rough draft is done, but the notes are there in case they kind of want to see, what I'm suggesting. And it is all my suggestions. I'm very, very mindful of an author's voice and their messaging and what they want to say, and really try to make sure that that's authentic to them and it never sounds like a professional editor or
Yeah.
someone like that, and take away from that.
Wow. Yeah, because that too could be very intimidating and just make the author be like, no, I'm done. Take it,
Mhm.
very personal and for good reason, but that's a great approach that you make it a safe place for them.
Yes. And I tell authors all the time, I'm like, this is your book. Like, this is
Mhm.
your book. So what I say, if you don't like, that the chapter title that I suggested, that's okay. You can make it whatever you want. And I really try to respect that creative process for the writers too.
And what does one have to have anything ready to start, the publishing process or even the editing process with you?
Yeah, so once the rough draft is done, because that's the first thing you're going to need is a rough draft, and then it depends on which publishing route you want to go. So traditional publishing is going to require a literary agent, and they would shop your book around to the really big publishers and try to get you a book deal. Then there's self-publishing, where you can just hire an editor and a designer to do your cover and things like that, and then just self-publish on your own. There's tons of videos and resources out there on how to self-publish, and a lot of authors choose to do that because they get to keep more of their royalties.
Okay.
Traditional big houses tend to take more, and if they pay you in advance, you actually have to pay that back in book sales. So you don't start making money, like it could be 2 or 3 years down the road before you even start making money with a traditional publisher. Self publishing is a little bit more immediate. So once your book is out, you start making your money back, that you spent on editing and design. And then there's hybrid publishing, which is what my publishing company, Raven and Grace Press, is, where you pay a fee up front and we take care of all of that. So the editing, the cover design, the files, the marketing, the distribution, everything. And then you make royalties off of sales from that too. So it just kind of depends on your budget, your goals, how quickly you want your book published. With a literary agent and a traditional house, it can take anywhere from 18 to 36 months to be published. Self-publishing, it could take just a matter of a few weeks, depending on how quickly it's edited and designed. And then with hybrid publishing, a smaller house like we are could do it in 4 to 6 months, which is much quicker than like 3 years.
Yes. Wow. And all that sounded so overwhelming until you
Yes.
talked about your hybrid editing company. And then it was just like, oh, you guys do a lot of that. That
Yes.
sounds so
Yes.
attractive, right?
Yes,
It
and
sounds
we're not the only hybrid publisher. There are lots of hybrid book publishers out there, and some are specific to genres. So
oh, okay.
there would be one for fantasy. There are some for young adult. So depending on what the book is, making sure you find the right hybrid publisher is also important, and that's where the
Mhm.
research comes in. Yeah, just do your research. Make sure that they're a good company, they've been around for a little bit, read reviews and things like that, and see what they offer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Definitely do the research. And I also want to kind of ask, like, for who do you work with? What is the span of genres that you work with?
Yes, so this is an exciting thing for us because we published our first book in July of 2024. And
Okay.
so we're just coming up on the 2-year mark. In March of this year alone, we will publish 3 books.
Oh my
So
goodness.
that's how fast we've grown. We have several more in the queue, but our spring into summer lineup for 2026 is pretty intense. I mean, we're essentially doing almost a book a week,
Yeah.
release wise, which is very cool. Most of our books have been in the personal development self-help space.
Okay.
So a lot of these books are written by coaches
Mhm.
or people who want to enter that space. One of our books earlier this year was actually an Academy Award nominated film producer who is now turned into like executive coaching.
Oh my goodness.
So he wrote a book, of course, to show that transition, and now he's working on doing talks and speaking engagements and TEDx's and things like that. We have done 2 fiction titles. One was kind of a memoir slash thriller, so it's based on real events, but some of the names have been changed
Okay.
to protect the people involved. And then one was a young adult historical fiction novel, which has recently won a couple of awards. And it's a lovely tale of 2 teenagers who meet after a hurricane.
Oh wow.
So everything kind of runs the gamut a little bit, but we do vet submissions. We
Mhm.
certainly read them, see if they're going to be up to standard, and if not, we do make recommendations. For the writer to do and then resubmit if they want.
Okay.
But those have been our books so far. A lot of self help, personal development, and then a few fiction exciting titles.
Oh, that's exciting.
So,
And then what are you open to working with? Is that all you're open to working with? Or are you specific genres, or do you work with other genres?
yeah, absolutely. So in coaching, I'll take anything.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable. I'm very well read and very studied. And yes, it was also my major, but I also read a lot in my personal time too, if you can believe that. I mean, I tend to average about a book a month for
Nice.
fun. So I'm very comfortable in everything from children's books, to even I one of my recent clients wrote a book about addiction and
Mm,
recovery, and so I'm very comfortable in all genres as far as coaching and editing goes. I've seen it all at this point. For our publishing house, we're still very open. We're still so new that we're not so busy. We're saying no yet.
okay.
But we do have a submission process, and we do encourage people to just submit and see, if we're a good fit for the author and if they're a good fit for us. We usually hop on a Zoom call and do introductions and just make sure that everything feels really good and aligned because, as I said earlier, it's like your story's not for everyone. It's like
Mm,
we're not for everyone either.
yeah,
And, finding the right partner is so, so important. And I really
absolutely.
encourage people to do that.
Yeah. And what about the ages? What type of ages of the span of ages do you work with?
Yes. So I've had clients do some children's books as early as, 6 to 8 years old, all the way to adult. Most of the books we work with are going to be trade publications, which are going to be for adults 18 and up.
Okay.
But we do have a couple of projects that are for adolescents. Again, we're very comfortable with a lot of age groups and genres and follow best practices for all of that.
Yeah,
So a book for a 14-year-old is going to look different than a 40-year-old's, and,
yeah,
and we know what to do to handle those things.
absolutely. When it comes to what you find most fulfilling when it is editing and book coaching, what do you find most fulfilling within those two?
Seeing that first draft done. I mean, that is like there's no way to describe it. To see a writer like type the end,
Mhm.
they've been working for 12, 15, however many weeks, every week, coming to calls, putting in the work, and they're like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. You're not done, but you're done with the rough draft. And
Yeah.
it's such a big step because at that point you can take a break. You know,
Mhm.
once your first draft is done, you can say, I'm not going to look at this for 3 months. And it's totally okay. You know, or somebody can just, I'm going to dive right into the next step of the process. But the story is in the computer or on the phone, and it's there and it's waiting, and then that voice telling you you should write a book starts to kind of go
Yeah.
away because you've written the book.
Oh,
Now
wow.
you get to decide what you want to do with it. So seeing people complete that is certainly the most fulfilling part, because I do think that's where the bulk of the work is.
Nice. And do you do the coaching on your own, or does your other partner also help?
I do coaching on my own, but she hosts retreats. So she does a lot of writer retreats, transformational retreats, and so that's kind of where people tend to work with me a little bit more one on one. But if they're looking for an experience like that, you know, I'll recommend them to her.
Okay.
And she does a few retreats every year. Last year, she did this amazing retreat in Milan, Italy during Fashion Show Week, where attendees actually got to walk the fashion show in gowns,
Oh my goodness.
designed, and yeah, pretty amazing stuff. So it just depends on what kind of experience a person wants. And she's been coaching for about 20 years.
Okay.
So we're both pretty experienced in coaching and
Yeah.
supported.
It sounds like you both have a good pair going and a great company that's budding and publishing out there, marketing and doing the good things.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. And what would you say to someone who has the dream of writing a book?
I would say the first thing to do is to create a writing space. So create a space where you can go to write, whether that's a coffee shop, a library, or a space in your home. Create the space, put it in your calendar, start with an hour a week, every single week. Make it non negotiable, like you would a dentist appointment or a doctor's appointment, and then stay committed to yourself and just sit down and start writing. Um, that is the only way to make any progress, is to just make sure that you stay committed to yourself and your story, and do the thing. Take
Mm,
action on it.
yes, absolutely. And if they run into some blocks, I would suggest possibly maybe interviewing, right? Many different editing companies, but Raven
Yes.
and Grace, yes, is
Yeah.
right here, willing to hop on a call with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you run into roadblocks, you know, you don't have to write. Maybe you draw a mind map.
Mhm.
Maybe you develop a character. Maybe you journal instead of write a chapter. But really using that time, using that hour a week per se, for some sort of work on your book is going to keep you moving forward. You know, the creative process, sometimes we're not feeling great. Sometimes we had a crappy day and we don't feel like writing, but still keep that commitment to yourself. Draw a picture. Do a meditation where you imagine your first book signing.
Mhm.
Just do something that is going to connect you to the reason why you want to write the book, and that will help you keep moving forward.
Thank you so much, Raven. We really appreciate you. What is something positive for the audience to take away that you would love to say to them?
Something positive. Again, never give up.
Yeah.
Never give up on your story. Never give up on your purpose, your why. Just keep moving forward. Like, I think it's so easy for us to get distracted nowadays with TV and phones and social media. And while social media definitely has a place in marketing, we do spend a lot of time on our phones and doing things like that. And I would just encourage people to put their phones down and turn off their TV and see how much they can get done when they have a creative project to work on.
Thank you so much, Raven. It was a pleasure speaking with you today, and I hope that everyone got lots of nuggets today.
Yes, thank
Maybe
you
it's
for
going.
having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I will put all of your links in the show notes, and
yeah, hopefully you get some inquired minds.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And keep writing and keep reading.
Thank you so much for listening to Coaching the Brave with Giovanna Chase. Follow me on Instagram at Giovanna Chase Coaches. I am doing a career manifestation program. It's actually a 2-hour session where you and I, one on one, will talk about what exactly is your dream situation, your dream job, the job that you feel you will never be able to achieve because what other people say. Like, you could be happy in your job, but you won't get paid what you want or what you need. You can have all the pay you want, but it's going to be super stressful and it's going to be super hard. So, these are the limiting beliefs that I help to break down and help you to understand your perspective versus the societal perspective and beliefs of society that want to keep us kind of contained in one genre. If you are interested in that, sign up with me or message me on Instagram or email me at giovannachasecoaches@gmail.com. And again, my Instagram handle is Giovanna Chase Coaches, and I will see you there. Have a great week, everybody.